The deplorable state of buildings housing South African Police Service officials across the country concerns policing unions. Police Minister Bheki Cele told Parliament's Portfolio Committee last week that he's been working from home for the past 4 years, owing to the dire state of the SAPS headquarters in Pretoria. For more on this conversation, we're now joined by South African Policing Union spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale. Dr. Thobakgale, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. What was your union's immediate response upon hearing the Minister of the Police saying that he's been working from home given the deplorable state of the SAPS buildings?
Thank you so much for having us, Katla, and greetings to your viewers back at home. We clearly remain to be concerned to say that the Minister himself would say that the state of the headquarters at Telkom Towers is not in good shape for workers to be accommodated there, even himself having to work from home. And also we look at the nature of the job that he does as a minister to say that he is not operational in nature. There's issues of policy and there's other issues that need him that are political related. But for him to say that the state of those headquarters at Telkom Towers, the conditions are not conducive, and then there is nothing that is being done after SAPS management had decided to buy that building, it remained concerning to us because at the same time, our workers are expected to go there and make sure that they report on duty in a building that does not have ventilation, in a building that the lifts, sometimes you find that they are not functioning. Sometimes workers will find themselves getting stuck within those very same lifts. When you look at the conditions of the building, it is dusty. It is just not conducive. The issue of electricity as well, it is also a problem in that very same building. And this does not only apply to Telkom Towers. Days, which is one of the head office of SAPS, it had an issue of water and electricity. That is why we then reported it to the Department of Labor, who then closed it, and those issues were resolved. But it also goes across to many police stations that are there across the country where our members are expected to go and work in places that where some are still housed in old containers, which they themselves, they are not in good conditions. You find that indeed workers are not supposed to be accommodated under such living or working conditions that they are expected to report there. So it is also surprising to us and concerning to say that the management of SAPS, they expect workers to go and report there. And in most cases, you find that they themselves are not being housed in such buildings. So we have taken a resolution as an organization to say clearly where we identify such police stations, we will report them to the Department of Labor and they will get closed down up until SAPS management and every role player comes into play to ensure that the working conditions of our members are really conducive. Imagine where indeed there is no ventilation, where you find that the toilets are not functioning themselves, where you find that indeed the state of those police stations are really not suitable for any human being to be working under. But our members are expected to go there and they still report there. The show continues to go on, but the show cannot just go on. And as a union, we keep quiet. That is why we have taken such a stand to say we'll report them to the Department of Labor and we will close them down.
So, Lesiba, in your opinion, what would you say are the main reasons for the dilapidation of these buildings? Is it a budget issue? Is it a maintenance issue? Where are you finding there to be a lack that's contributing to this deterioration?
Let us just take an example with Telkom Towers. SAPS bought that building with millions and millions of rands, and therefore they cannot say after they've spent millions of rands on it and then thereafter they are not able to maintain it. And further going to the police stations, definitely in the budget of SAPS each year when they are doing budget allocations, they make sure that there is budget that is there reserved for maintenance. It is just an issue of coordination and lack of commitment when it comes to the state, to make sure that the state of all SAPS buildings are in order. It is lack of commitment because in most cases you find that it is where you'll find that the police stations where our members are the ones that are reporting there. It is not where in most cases you find senior managers being housed there. You'll find them being in comfortable buildings where it is easier for them to find themselves reporting under such conditions. So for us, it is just the lack of commitment from SAPS management to ensure that the working conditions of our members are clearly in terms of the safety and health environment prescribed, because the law itself, it is quite prescriptive when it comes to the issues of working conditions that the members are supposed to be finding themselves.
And do you find that there's an impact with regards to these dilapidated buildings, with regards to the public perception that the public has with regards to law enforcement and just the trust that they have on police officers when walking into these dilapidated buildings?
It does. Imagine if you go to a police station like Marine Hill Police Station in KwaZulu-Natal, you'll find that it still containers themselves there. The police station has never been built. So it really has an impact when it comes to the public trust, to say that the police themselves are being housed under such conditions. And there's a whole lot of other police stations themselves, not only specific to the one that we just referred to. Then that on its own, how do you really expect the members of the public to be taking you serious, even when you as a member, you find yourself not because of your own doing, because of management, lack of commitment, where they find you being housed in a police station or in a container, where you find that the human dignity itself, it continues to be taken down. It also has an impact, definitely, when it comes to the service delivery, to the morale of the police themselves, because they're expected to service our communities within those very dilapidated type of buildings, within those very buildings that are not quite conducive for anyone to go and occupy, but they have to make sure that they service the members of the society. That on its own, it also affects them health-wise, because some you find that their health it is not quite in shape. If indeed you are housed in a building that on its own, it does not have ventilation. Some of them, they find themselves contracting and developing even some of the diseases that they do not have, clearly because of, you find that their oxygen levels, they happen to go down because of lack of ventilation. So that on its own has a negative impact when it comes to the morale of the police, because their dignity itself, it is being taken down and it's not being taken serious. And we cannot keep quiet about it.
Of course. And I mean, you speak of the morale, you speak of the health implications, but what's the overall effectiveness of the police that are working in these police stations where they're having these buildings that are not up to a standard for them to be working? What are you getting as responses from your workers?
In most cases, it is about health issues that some of our members, they happen to develop. Some of them, you find that already they have comorbidities already. They are living with those type of conditions. You find that in most cases, one would find themselves having to book off sick from time to time because of the working conditions that they find themselves working under, because of the type of buildings that they are housed under. Definitely that has a negative impact. That is what we pick up from our members. And moreover, it goes to the dignity, because if one has to think that for me to go report to work, then I have to go and find myself being squashed in that very same container. I have to go to where, if I really have to go and maybe go and relieve myself, you find that the toilet is not in a good state. One is thinking there is even another police station as well, another building, where you find that because of the area itself, the bushes around it that have not been resolved, that there's a whole lot of snakes that come out, and then they really they bite some of the members as well. That is how serious it is. If one has to think clearly to say, for me to wake up and go to work, those are the type of conditions that I have to go and work under. So it remains to be concerning, and clearly it affects the morale of the police, like any other normal human beings, because police officers are human beings as well, and they should also be treated with dignity as they have the constitutional right for them to be treated with full dignity as well.
And of course, I can imagine, Lesiba, that this has been an ongoing issue. In terms of your engagement as a union with the Department of the Police, what have been some progresses, if not in terms of those engagements? Are you finding a way forward in finding solutions and ensuring that your workers work in a place that could bring out the most effectiveness of law enforcement?
Unfortunately, through our engagements with SAPS top management has not borne fruits, because in most cases they will push the buck to the Department of Public Works, whereas at the end of the day it is their responsibility to ensure that their workers whom they deployed there in those buildings, that their conditions are quite okay. We have written several letters to the Office of the National Commissioner, and there hasn't been any positive results that we have seen, or any positive response to clearly show that there is commitment to resolve those challenges. That is why, as an organization, we have since taken the line where we report those buildings to the Department of Labor. We didn't just wake up from the start to report to the Department of Labor. We believe that as a stakeholder, we need to have engagements with the management of SAPS. But if there is nothing positive that is coming and our members are still expected to report under such buildings, we really have no choice, because we need to make sure that there is something that is being done. That is why then we have taken that hard line to say we report to the Department of Labor, and we will continue to see, if the conditions do not change, we'll continue to see many more police stations being closed down, because we are committed to make sure that the dignity of our members is fully restored, and we are committed to that. Right. We are not backing down on it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lesiba, for your time this evening. We certainly do hope that there will be a solution with regards to these dilapidated SAPS buildings. That was South African Policing Union spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale speaking to us there.